talented, artistic.
Are you familiar, Mr. Whigham, with the distinction between an independent film and a studio film?
I believe I am.
What, if any, difference is there between an independent film on one hand and a studio film on the other?
So in layman's terms, I'd say that, a studio film is a bigger budgeted film. It has a distributor, a studio in place. So when you think of Disney, Marvel, Universal, these are big companies. They're bigger budgeted and bigger fees. And then independents, like we call them indies, typically are smaller budgeted, more artistically minded, smaller fees, and often don't have distribution when they're made.
Starting in October 2016, what types of opportunities have you pursued on Mr. Depp's behalf?
A wide variety, primarily I would say focused on film, television, and producing.
What, if any, roles did Mr. Depp have in progress as of that time, fall of 2016, going into calendar year 2017?
All right, so we inherited some deals. It was there was two films, as I remember, that were going to go back to back. One was City of Lies, the Notorious B.I.G. film, and the other was Murder on the Orient Express. So those were filmed almost at the same time, and they had pre-existing deals that we serviced. And then he had Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald as well. And then we were in the process. We ended up finishing the 6th film negotiation on Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mr. Whigham, you mentioned City of Lies. When was that film actually shot?
To the best of my memory, it was shot right, at the very end, mostly the beginning of 2017.
What was Mr. Depp's compensation for City of Lies?
I believe it was $8 million.
And you mentioned Murder on the Orient Express. When was that shot?
So it was shot at almost the same time. I actually can't remember which one went first. They were both shot predominantly, call it January to April of 2017. I remember us having to work out dates, but it was the beginning of 2017.
What was Mr. Depp's compensation for Murder on the Orient Express?
If memory serves me, I think it was $10 million.
Was Murder a studio film or an independent, or what you call an indie film?
It was a studio film. It was Fox.
Mr. Whigham, you also mentioned Fantastic Beasts 2, Crimes of Grindelwald. When was that film shot?
I believe that film was shot in the fall of 2017.
What was Mr. Depp's compensation for Crimes of Grindelwald?
Again, that deal predated us. I think it was $13.5 million, if I remember correctly.
Was Crimes of Grindelwald a studio film or an indie film?
It was studio. It was Warner Brothers.
And backing up a bit, Mr. Whigham, what was the first business opportunity you were able to secure for Mr. Depp after he came to you and CAA in the fall of 2016?
So I believe it was 2017 was it was busy. We had a slot that summer, and he wanted to do a smaller film, and it was The Professor, I believe.
How much compensation, if any, did he receive for performing in that smaller film, The Professor?
That deal was $3.5 million.
Was The Professor an independent film or was it a studio film?
It was independent.
And Mr. Whigham, how, if at all, was CAA compensated for closing the deal on the professor?
So it would have been the normal 10% of the deal. So the deal was $3.5 million. The commission would be $350,000 to the agency.
Mr. Whigham, was 2017 a typical year for Mr. Depp in terms of the workload for an actor of his caliber and track record?
Objection, leading.
Overruled, I'll allow it. Go ahead.
And yes.
What other roles, if any, were you able to secure for Mr. Depp during your tenure at CAA before you went to the new company?
A film called Waiting for the Barbarians and a film called Minamata.
When was Waiting for the Barbarian shot?
So Waiting for the Barbarians was fall of 2018.
What, if any, plans did you and Mr. Depp have for 2018, calendar year 2018?
We had a very specific plan for that year because 2017 was busy, and he had done 3 studio films, and I remember him wanting to take time off to rest and be with his kids for first half of the year, and then he wanted to go on the music tour, which always just made him really happy, and so that was the summer of 2018, and then we had the slot for the fall of 2018, and that's where we spent a lot of time thinking about what that movie was going to be. And Waiting for the Barbarians was kind of a little gift because it was based on a J.M. Coetzee novel, and Johnny's, very well read and knew the literature, the underlying book, and Mark Rylance was in the film, and it was just like a dream actor that he always wanted to work with.
What was Mr. Depp paid for Waiting for the Barbarians?
$1 million.
And I apologize if you've already said this. So was Waiting for the Barbarians an independent film or a studio film?
It was an independent.
Mr. Whigham, you also mentioned the film Minamata. When was that film shot?
That was the very beginning of 2019. So I think January start.
Was Minamata an indie film or a studio film?
It was independent.
How much was Mr. Depp ultimately paid for Minamata?
So his fee became, it was $3 million.
What, if any, role did Mr. Depp play in Pirates of the Caribbean 5?
He played Captain Jack Sparrow.
Was he paid an actor's fee for that film?
Technically, it was before my tenure, but yes, I would assume he was.
Mr. Whigham, would you please explain for the jury what are residual or back-end rights?
I think the easiest way to explain a back end is it's an ownership stake on behalf of the artist in the success of the movie, and typically is only granted to stars of a certain stature.
And in addition to the fee, Mr. Depp, the upfront fee that Mr. Depp was paid for Fantastic Beasts 5, which I know preceded you, what if any understanding do you have of whether Mr. Depp had any back-end rights for Pirates 5?
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation. He said that deal was at the other agency, and he wasn't.
I'll allow it if he knows it. That's fine. Go ahead.
Her Honor says you may answer the question.
Yeah, so you initially said Fantastic Beasts. I think you meant Pirates 5.
I apologize. I did mean for Pirates 5, what, if any, back end did Mr. Depp have for Pirates 5?
I don't know what it was. I know that he had one.
To what extent, if any, did Mr. Depp ever have a deal to perform in Pirates 6?
So when we started representing him, I remember Brian Lord and myself finishing a deal that had started at the previous agency. and
Objection, Your Honor. May we
closed it.
approach?
Okay. Hold on a minute.
For the interruption, Mr. Whigham, Her Honor says you may answer the question, which I believe is, to what extent, if any, did Mr. Depp ever have a deal to perform in Pirates 6?
So we finished the deal, and then we closed the deal at $22.5 million for that film, is my memory.
Which studio was involved in the Pirates series, including Pirates 6?
So that was Disney.
Was Disney the studio involved in all of the Pirates movies?
Yes.
What role was Mr. Depp to play in Pirates 6?
Objection calls for speculation
I'll allow it.
and hearsay.
I'll allow it.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Was the $22.5 million to be paid to Mr. Depp by Disney or by some other entity?
Disney.
And when was that $22.5 million to be paid to Mr. Depp?
It would be paid when he shoots it. We call it principal photography, so when the film shoots.
Who was the producer of the Pirates franchise?
Jerry Bruckheimer.
Does Mr. Bruckheimer work for Disney?
No.
In 2017, to what extent, if any, was Mr. Bruckheimer supportive of Mr. Depp remaining in the Pirates franchise?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Putting aside his role in the Pirates films, did Mr. Depp have any other affiliations with Disney in 2017?
Yes.
What were those affiliations?
He, if I remember, in the spring, he went down to Disneyland and put on the Captain Jack Sparrow outfit and wardrobe and went into the ride. He and Disney had worked out a fun little thing where he was going to take the place of the automated, Captain Jack Sparrow on the Pirates ride, and so he would kind of surprise people as they were going along there. And so I remember he did that, and then in May of 2017, he went to Disney Shanghai to help open the Pirates of the Caribbean ride there.
What, if anything, did those affiliations signify about the status of Mr. Depp's relationship with Disney as of that time?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll
Hearsay.
sustain the objection. Next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. To what extent, if any, did Mr. Depp socialize with anyone at Disney in 2017, to the extent you know?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow it to the extent he knows.
Do you know whether Mr. Depp socialized with Disney during 2017, yes or no?
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation and hearsay.
I do.
If you could lay a foundation to how he knows.
How do you know that Mr. Depp socialized with Disney in calendar year 2017?
Because I was there.
Who, would you please describe for the jury what you mean when you said you were there when Mr. Depp socialized with Disney?
We had a dinner in spring of 2017 with myself, Jerry Bruckheimer, Johnny, and Sean Bailey, who was running the film, was president of Disney.
How did the dinner conclude?
Great. I mean, very, very nice. It was a great dinner.
As of early December 2018, so we're now in December of 2018, what, if anything, was your understanding of the status of whether Mr. Depp would actually appear in Pirate 6?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Mr. Whigham, did there come a time when you saw an op-ed that purportedly written by Amber Heard that appeared in the Washington Post?
Yes.
Mr. Whigham, I would like to show you, please, what was entered previously into evidence as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. Mr. Gibson, would you please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1? And, Your Honor, may we please publish this to the jury as it's been previously. Oh, it is. Thank you. Mr. Whigham, have you ever seen this document before?
Yes.
What is it?
I believe it's the opinionated op-ed in the Washington Post that Ms. Heard wrote.
Mr. Whigham, when did you first see Ms. Heard's op-ed in the Washington Post?
It would have been right contemporaneous to when it came out.
And Tom, if you would please move ahead to, I believe, the second page in Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. And drawing your attention specifically to the third paragraph of the op-ed, Ms. Heard writes, quote, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out, unquote. What, if any, understanding do you have of that reference?
That it was regarding Johnny and their relationship.
Directing your attention, Tom, if we could just move back up to the first page of Exhibit 1. Directing your attention to the title of the article, quote, Amber Heard, colon, I spoke up against sexual violence, unquote. What, if any, understanding do you have of that reference?
Objection, Your Honor, it's irrelevant what his understanding is.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
That was rather shocking, I remember, because it was the first time I'd heard an allegation of sexual abuse.
And against whom was the allegation of sexual abuse?
Objection, Your Honor. How would he know?
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Mr. Whigham, directing your attention to the fifth paragraph of Plaintiff's Exhibit 1, Ms. Heard writes, quote, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse, unquote. To what does that refer?
Objection, Your Honor. How would he know what it refers?
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Mr. Gibson, if you would please take down Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. Mr. Whigham, how, if at all, was Ms. Heard's op-ed different from other articles about the couple's relationship?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for hearsay foundation.
All right.
Other articles?
Mr. Whigham, had you seen other articles in the course of your duties as Mr. Depp's agent about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp?
Objection, Your Honor. Still.
Yes.
Calls for hearsay foundation.
I'll allow it.
Thank you. How, if at all, was the op-ed different from other articles you had read about the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard relationship?
It was a first-person account coming from the victim. It's extremely impactful.
Impactful in a good or bad way?
With respect to Johnny, it was catastrophic because it was coming from a first-person account. It was not from a journalist. It was not from someone observing. It was from someone saying, this happened to me.
Mr. Whigham, between December 18, 2018, the date of the op-ed, and October 2020, did Mr. Depp perform in any studio films?
Sorry, could you Could you just repeat the dates?
Between December 18th, 2018, which is the date that Ms. Heard's op-ed appeared, and October 2020, to what extent, if any, did Mr. Depp perform in any studio films?
Zero. No studio films.
How, if at all, did Ms. Heard's op-ed impact Mr. Depp's ability to land roles in studio films between December 2018 and October 2020?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay, foundation, and expert.
I'll sustain that objection. Next. Are you near the end, Mr. Chu? I just want to make sure because
I
it's
am,
coming up on
Your
our morning break. Okay.
I
Go.
have probably 5 minutes.
Okay, that's good. Go ahead.
What effect, if any, did the op-ed have on the release of Minamata, the indie film you mentioned
Objection,
earlier?
Your Honor, calls for hearsay, speculation.
He
and
worked on
You want to approach for a
foundation.
moment?
Sure. Yes, Your Honor. What happened, Mr. Whigham, after the op-ed, but before October 2020, with respect to Minamata?
So the op-ed came out in December, and it was right as we were going on Christmas break, and Minamata was supposed to start in January, and I remember it was very, very difficult to keep Minamata together. The financing became shaky. The budget had to come down. Johnny's fee came down in order to save the movie.
Tom, if you would please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 584, and we're not asking to publish it because it does not come in. This is an email chain with the subject line, quote, Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow won't
I
return.
object to him reading
All right.
even from that to the jury.
That's fine, Your Honor. We
Okay,
can.
move on.
Mr. Whigham, do you recognize this email chain?
Yes, now that I'm looking at it.
What is the date of this email chain?
I think it's December 20th.
December 20th of what year, sir?
Sorry, December 20th of 2018.
Mr. Whigham, directing your attention to the middle email message on Plaintiff's Exhibit 584, did you receive this message from Christian Carino in or about December 20th, 2018 at 3:26 p.m.?
Your Honor, I'm going to object because it's a hearsay document. He's asking questions from the hearsay document.
I'll
It's
allow that.
double.
I'll allow that question. We'll see where we go.
Her Honor said you may answer that question.
Yes, I see, I see what he's asking me.
Would you please explain to the jury what the message was about?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. Hearsay. He's asking him to essentially say
If we
what.
want to approach for a moment.
Tom, if you could please take that down. Mr. Whigham, did there come a time after Ms. Heard's publication of the op-ed on December 18, 2018, but before October 2020, that you learned more about Disney's plans about whether it would cast Mr. Depp in Pirate 6?
Objection, hearsay.
All right.
I'm just asking whether he
Okay, I'll allow that.
Yes,
when did that happen?
in 2019.
What happened? Go ahead.
Your Honor.
Next question.
What happened in 2019 with respect to Disney, your learning about Disney's plans, whether to use Mr. Depp in Pirate 6?
Objection, hearsay.
What happened? Is that,
Yes.
I'll allow what happened. Go ahead.
It became clear they were going in a different direction.
When did you learn that Disney was going in a different direction and no longer planned to use Mr. Depp in Pirate 6?
Early 2019.
Who is Margot Robbie?
She's a fantastic actress. She's a client of CAA.
What, if anything, did you learn about the role Margot Robbie would be playing in Pirate 6?
I think that calls for hearsay. Again, Your Honor, I'm going to object.
I'll overrule the objection.
I learned that they were developing a Pirates project for her to star in.
After you learned that Disney was going in a different direction in early 2019 and no longer planned to use Mr. Depp, to what extent did you reach out to Jerry Bruckheimer or Sean Bailey?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay.
It does not, Your Honor.
Overruled. I'll allow it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
A lot.
Did you reach out to Mr. Bruckheimer and Mr. Bailey jointly or separately?
Separately.
What, if anything, was the result of your outreach to Mr. Bruckheimer and Mr. Bailey?
Objection still calls for hearsay, Your Honor.
Calls for hearsay. Yes, Chief.
I'm just asking what the result was.
It's still based on his communications with them.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
After your outreach to Mr. Bailey or strike that, was your outreach to Mr. Bruckheimer and Mr. Bailey successful?
Objection leading.
I'll allow it.
No. I successfully made contact with them, but I was not successful in rescuing pirates for Johnny.
When was the last time you discussed Mr. Depp's role in Pirate 6 with Jerry Bruckheimer, Sean Bailey, or anyone else at Disney?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, on hearsay.
Overruled.
2019, I believe.
In addition to Pirate 6, did Mr. Depp lose other films between December 2018 and October 2020 because of Ms. Heard's op-ed?
Objection.
I'll sustain the objection.
In addition to Pirate 6, did Mr. Depp lose any other films between December 2018 and October 20?
Objection, Your Honor. First of all, I don't think he testified that he lost Pirate 6. Second of all, it's
She's now contradicting the witness's testimony,
no,
which is
no,
Just trying to ask the
inappropriate.
question
Both of you.
the other way.
Both of you. Overruled. Let's go. Next. Go ahead and answer the question.
Yes. After the op-ed, it was impossible to get him a studio film, which is what we normally would have been focused on in that time period.
Mr. Whigham, to what extent did COVID, or strike